Welcome to the first day of Impact Online. We'll be going to Belgium. Now, if you remember, we had actually planned to go on a mission trip to Belgium back in March before COVID-19 hit. That was one of the first things that we had to cancel, and unfortunately, because the pandemic has persisted, we have not been able to reschedule that trip at this time. We still hope in the future to be able to go and help the Ham family with their work over there, but until then, the next best thing we can do is pray for them and educate ourselves on what they're doing over there. Couple of things to think about as you watch this. Just know that this area of Europe, though it is one of the cradles of European Christianity, is now very, very, very unevangelized. There may be beautiful church buildings all over the city, and they may be as empty as can be on a Sunday. So let's talk with the Ham family and see what's going on in Belgium right now and see how we can pray for them.
Hi there. My name is Justin Ham. I'm a missionary in Belgium along with my family. Angie's my wife, Austin, my son, who is 15, and Kayla, who is 11. We've been here in Belgium, I think, for about 5 years. I've been in Europe for a little over 6.5. Really love being in this area. What we've been able to see God do is begin to start opening up hearts. We've been able to get involved with the places and the areas where He's working. We've been able to see Him work into hearts of people that we know, friends, and people that we meet on the streets. God's at work. One of the ways that we've been able to see Him work recently is just in bringing our team together. We thought last year, or I should say this year, because it's 2020. I think I'm ready for 2020 to be over, but we thought we were going to have about 6 different teams, including your church, come to our area. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we were not able to see any of those teams come, which is unfortunate. However, it has allowed us to have opportunities to do other things, and one of those things is just simply focus on the church that we have begun here in Namur. We live in the city of Namur. It's a population of about 110,000 people. There are presently 3 evangelical churches in the area, and one of them is the one that we've just started. We've been meeting as a church start for about a year now, and very grateful to see where God is working and things that He's doing, the ways that He is moving around us. However, as I'm sure many of you can understand, COVID has taken a beating on God's work. But God is He's so much greater than that, and so even in the midst of incredible difficulties, God just continues to shine through. We want to share with you some of those stories, and I'm very happy to do so. One of the ways I'd like to share with you is just how God called me personally into the mission field. I was about 16 years old, and I was in my student ministry at Ridgecrest Baptist Church in Durham, North Carolina. And our student ministry, thanks be to God, had a missionary come from South America and speak to our group. And this man was in a wheelchair. His wife would push him around. But one thing he said that evening kind of struck me and spoke to me. And what he said was, if I, in a wheelchair, am able to do God's work in another country, in another place, He can certainly call you to do the same thing, and He will give you what you need to do it. I went home that night, and as I often did, I climbed up on my roof to pray, and under the stars that evening, I prayed to God. And what I basically said was, God, I'm available. If you want to send me overseas, I'm available. So at 16 years old, I told God, I'm available. I'm open to that. And I say that because he may be calling you at 16. If you're 16 years old and you're sitting in church today, maybe he's calling you. Maybe you're 17 or 15 and he's calling you. He's just asking you, not necessarily make a decision to be a missionary, but he's asking you to be willing to go. That's what he called me to do when I was 16. I fast forward about 25 years, and God spoke to my heart one time when I was on the mission field. My wife and I had been married. We both had felt God tugging at our hearts towards missions for years. In fact, before we even married, both of us had kind of told the Lord, if you call us to the field, we'll go. But one time when I was in China, I was on my way. We had just received, or had just gotten back from China, and was in the service at our church on a Sunday morning. And one of the things that the pastor said was, sometimes delayed obedience is disobedience. And I knew when he said that God was speaking to me and saying, Justin, you and your family, you need to be obedient and go. I'm calling you now. He didn't call us before that point, and he was telling me if I was disobedient now, if I chose to be obedient later, I would be being disobedient. So at that moment, I told my wife we need to go down front. There at the altar, we prayed. We asked God just to guide us. We felt like he was calling us. Please just guide us. And he guided us here to Belgium. And I'd like to share with you a little bit about how he did that. So we were really grateful with IMB, Southern Baptist Convention. We were really grateful that we were able to have an avenue by which we could search out how we were going to do missions and where. At the very beginning, my wife and I, neither one of us had any idea where we were called to go. I remember early on, the IMB asked my wife and I, which people group do you feel led to go? And I told them, the only people group I can tell you is to lost people. We just want to go somewhere there are people who are lost, and we can share with them the great news of Jesus Christ. That was probably not the answer they were looking for, but it was enough, because what God did is, through a series of events, he narrowed down the world. One of the main things that he used was our son's food allergies. My son is allergic to milk, eggs, and peanuts very severely, as well as other things, but those are the main things. And the IMB told us in our process of trying to discover where God was leading us, they said one of the things that you have to be aware of is that your son, because of his allergies, can't go anywhere in the world and be safe. We need to place him somewhere where there are good hospitals or where there's good medical care. And so that narrowed down the world very quickly. In fact, there was one point where they told us, I'm sorry, but there's really nowhere we can send you. Well, that broke my wife's and my heart, particularly because there was one evening where we sat down with our son and our daughter. She was really young at the time, but we sat down with our son and we told him, Austin, listen, your allergies are really a really great thing, because God is going to use those allergies to just draw us exactly where he wants our family to be. That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. We were so grateful that we can look back at that time and see how God answered not only our requests, but he even showed our son that even in the midst of difficulty, he is still faithful and he is still guiding us. And he's still going to give us direction. We were seeking God's direction, and he opened up the door to Belgium. And we didn't know a whole lot about Belgium at the time, other than it was in Europe. But as we began to study and to look at this country, we found out that basically 1% of people in this country consider themselves to be an evangelical Christian, which means they trust Christ as their personal Savior and they live obediently in that direction, which means it's a pretty lost country. And if you find things out about Belgium, you'll find out that it really is a very lost country. There are decisions that they've made and laws that they put into practice that are detestable to a believer. But God's light is shining. And what we see is that God's people in this country are wanting and believing him to do some good things. So we're praying for that. And we ask you to join us in praying just for God's Spirit to begin to change the hearts of the people here in Belgium, as we believe that he will. That's exactly how he called us to the mission field. And maybe he's calling some of you. I pray that he is.
Our team is trying to reach Wallonians. They are French speakers who live in Belgium, which primarily are found in the southern part of Belgium. In the northern part, they speak Flemish. In the southern, they speak French. So we are in the French-speaking part. If you look behind me, you can see a flag flying. That's the Wallonian flag flying on top of the citadel. The citadel is actually a fortress from the 17th century that overlooks our city. And I want to give you a good look of what our city looks like from up here. As you can see, there are a lot of people crammed into a small space, which makes ministry actually kind of interesting. We're able to see the same people time and time again because it is a small area. And we feel like we can actually reach this area with the gospel, which encourages us. We want to see God do some great things. All of those buildings represent people who need to be reached with the gospel, who need to hear the good news, and that's what we're trying to do. So far, in our efforts to try to reach the Wallonians, we have been trying many different methods, many different ways to try to reach them. One of the most effective ways is we've handed out free coffee in the center of town. We found that when we hand out coffee, if a Wallonian takes that cup of coffee, they like to sit and have a conversation, just like they do in the cafes. So we found that was a really effective way to have conversations with people. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, we're not able to do that anymore. So we're trying to change our strategy a little bit. One of the ways that we've done that is by going into the cafes and just having conversations with people in the cafes. That is effective. Probably not as effective, but it is effective. We've also, every time God opens a door, we try to walk through it. So, for example, recently we had a girl that we knew, that we had met in years past, that I had ran across in the center of town. And she asked if my wife and I would like to come and have a cup of coffee with her. We did. She also invited us to come and listen to her sing, where we would be able to meet some of her friends. We did that as well. So last night, we were able to have great conversations, and I had a very good spiritual conversation with a man sitting at our table that I had never met. We found that often the way that we reach people here is just by being available and building relationships. I'm sure many of you do the same thing right there in Florida. But we know that God is, up to good things because He's still continuing to open doors. And I look forward to seeing what He has in the near future for us. So, as I've already said, with COVID-19, a lot of things are beginning to change. The ways we've done ministry in the past, unfortunately, we just can't do it that way anymore. So we're beginning to brainstorm how we can outreach to the community, even with the restrictions that have come. It's hard. It's difficult to be quite honest. It's been difficult, but there have been some open doors, and that's where some of you can come in. If you can see, as you can see behind me, this park represents what I think is going to be one of the areas where we can do ministry here in the future, where churches can come, join alongside of us, work alongside of us, and we can find that God can open doors. We can work with these children through sports camps, through different kinds of ministry, and potentially reach their families when we get to talk with their parents, talk with the children, and that kind of thing. Another thing that we like to do here, we found to be very effective, is the English Club. We've done work through English Club for, I think now it's been about 4 years, and we've had quite an effective ministry through that. Lots of people have come, lots of people participated. One of the things that we need people to do from the States is to come and to help us advertise for this. And we've had some teams do that in the past. Your pastor has even done that for us in the past. But we would like to have some teams come and just help us advertise. One of the things that hopefully that would open some doors is having people come in who are new, who get to hear the truth for the first time. And some of you would be the catalyst for that. We think that often what we need to do is find people who are available and open to the gospel. And at that point, we minister to them and show them the greatness of God and the goodness of God and how He loves them and what He's done for them. And so if we're able to do all of those things and we have the avenue to do it, we truly believe we're going to see people come to Christ. And we absolutely believe that to be the case here in Namur.
My husband's already introduced himself, but I would like to introduce you to the rest of our family. My name is Angie, and this is our son Austin, who is 15, and our daughter Kayla, who is 11. And Justin's going to ask us a few questions about life in Belgium.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask, first of all, my first question is for Austin. What are some things that you like to do here in Belgium?
I like to play basketball on my team, and I do that every Monday and Thursday.
Okay. How about you, Kayla?
I like going to dance class and going to art class.
Okay. What kind of dance do you take?
I take ballet.
Ah. Are you the best in your class?
No.
How about you, Angie?
Well, I like to cook. It can be a little challenging sometimes because I can't always find the same ingredients as in America, but most of the time I can find something that works. But I enjoy cooking and shopping.
What are your, do any of you have a favorite Belgian food?
Yes. My favorite are the waffles.
Yeah.
I say fries.
Fries. Yeah. What's different about the fries here, Kayla?
I don't know.
They just taste good, don't they? Yeah. They actually double fry them, I think, which is kind of neat. What is something that you find is different between the U.S. and Belgium?
At school.
Well, there isn't a school basketball team, so we have to play in like a rec ball type of thing, and there's not much school spirit.
There's no sports in the schools, so there's nothing to really have a whole lot of school spirit for.
I think the difference between Belgium and America is that in Belgium everything is much closer than things in America.
In America, you have to ride in a car a long way, right, to get to places.
And here
Yeah,
you just ride a bike or walk.
yeah.
Right, that's true. Well, okay, I'm going to ask y'all a couple of questions about churches here. Austin, on average, about how big is a church here?
About 20, 30 people.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. Kayla, I want to ask you specifically, like in your Sunday school class, how many children are in your Sunday school class?
3.
3. Yeah. Three children. That's true. On a good day. That's on a good day. Angie, I want to ask you, so like if you could see our church start, which I've explained a little bit about that to the church. If you could see our church start, do anything here in the city of Naumere, what would you like to see happen in our church start?
I would love for everybody in our church start to learn how to share their faith with others and to reach out to share with other people in the city so that we would have more believers in our church that could be serving in our church using their talents and gifts and be trained to lead the church so that we can move to starting other churches and they can take over the leadership.
If you look at what's going on in the U.S. and in Belgium, you'll find a lot of differences between churches, but at the heart of it all is our Savior. Is Jesus. And so we can see a lot of similarities, we can see a lot of differences, but I think ultimately and finally, we can find that we all have Christ in common. So as you guys are listening to our video and meeting our family and hearing about what's going on here in Belgium, we hope that you're able to maybe to get a little taste of what it's like here, and on top of that, maybe get a little taste of how you could maybe join us in trying to reach out to the Wildlonian people here. We appreciate each one of you for praying for us. We appreciate each one of you for supporting us. And we ask that, you just continue to keep us in your thoughts and your prayers as we continue to reach out. And we want to personally, as a family, invite you all, maybe not all at the same time, but we'd like to invite you all to come and join us in this work. We believe that there's a lot of things that you guys can come alongside of us and help us do. And we look forward to it. I know that in the past we had plans for you guys to come and to join us with difficulties with coronavirus and things. That didn't happen, but we believe that it will happen soon. So we'll keep you guys in our prayers as we have been. We have been praying for you guys, and we ask that you do the same. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to us. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you and hopefully see you soon.